everyone, it is Friday once again, so another podcast coming your way. Got one piece of news that's relatively big though. There's going to be a new NCAA division going into esports, that being the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. They're going to be the most recent one announcing esports league, so that's going to be adding to the Big Ten, adding to the Peach Belt, adding to, I think there's another one in there right now too. There actually might be more than just the MAAC being added this year. There are quite a few of them. It seems like there's another conference every year being added to collegiate esports. So I'm very excited about that one. Going to be keeping a close eye. I don't know too much about the MAAC, so I do look forward to learning about them through seeing their play. That's how I learned about the Peach Belt Conference. I knew about them, but I didn't really know about the Peach Belt Conference. But gotten a little bit more of an understanding coming through esports when they joined the division. Definitely Big Ten. Everybody. I think I want to say anyone who's ever been to a bar or has any sort of family member who's into collegiate athletics knows about Big Ten. So it wasn't too long of a stretch to know about Big Ten, but I have learned more about them just through esports, and that's been really nice. Also, I'm from Ohio, so Ohio State, they kind of reign over there. So it's hard to be from Ohio and not know about Big Ten. But that's the news for this week. Now, again, not too much. Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Really hope to see some big things from them. And I hope more conferences get added throughout the season coming up, throughout the years. Of course they're going to. It's collegiate. It's growing every year. It has to. It's inevitable. It's unstoppable at this point. It's kind of the natural progress in any sort of interest in, competition or athletics. Guests this week are going to be three of them, actually. Darian, Ruyang, and Jeff. Those being three individuals from Simon Fraser University. At least they used to be from Simon Fraser. One of them is leaving. The other one has left already. And Darian, he's still there as president at the moment. But we talk about his future. We talk about everybody's, life status, their futures, things like that in the podcast. I will admit, it was a little hard balancing three members on a podcast. I felt like I did really well with two of them last week, and I was like, I could do three, and I'm really interested in talking to all three of these individuals. I met one of them in person, and actually interviewed them at CSL finals as their JV team that they were coaching had won the championship. So got to interview him. He was really cool. I've known Jeff for a while just through collegiate esports. He goes by Butt Raider. He was the former SFU coach whenever SFU, Simon Fraser, they were doing really well in the Collegiate League of Legends circuit. And then Ruyang, this is my first time talking to Ruyang. We follow each other on Twitter, and I've been wanting to talk to him for a while. He's the advisor for Simon Fraser, and I think he's actually going to be transferring elsewhere in Canada. I believe another Canadian school. He's going to be transferring, but I believe he's going to be staying on as advisor. We talk about all that in the podcast, and I'm going to admit also, it's the first one I've ever edited because the mic levels were so different, and I will fix that next time because I enjoy the authenticity, but I didn't feel like the mic levels, I didn't feel like that was a necessary authentic part that, that really needed to be in there. So I did break this up a little bit, brought down only a couple levels, not too much. I probably should have edited a little bit more, but that's just me. Again, I do enjoy that just raw footage, raw data kind of thing, all that. I guess candid stuff. I don't really know what it's called. I enjoy authenticity. So with that being said, I felt like I could have done better governing the conversation between the three individuals. But as the podcast goes on, as the questions went on, or the conversation went on, I did get better. And I hope next time I have a small group of people on that I'm able to facilitate everything a little bit better. But first time try. Here it is. Three individuals from SFU, Simon Fraser University, either past, present, future, however you want to call it. We talk about most of that. Once we got into esports, that's the thing too. It felt like everyone kind of had a long day. I think I did too. I was just coming out of work that day. I rested for about an hour coming off of work, ate something, and then got on the podcast. So I know I had a long day. I know Jeff for sure has a long day. He told me about his work schedule, and it sounds like not fun whatsoever. But once we got talking about esports, the conversation really picked up, and that's to be expected. Obviously, we're all here from esports, and we like to talk about esports, and technically, this is an esports podcast, to even call it the Collegiate Esport. By the way, I have a new little, I typed out the Collegiate Esport podcast there. I think I'm going to keep it that way. I don't think I'm going to do the TCE abbreviation. I think I like the Collegiate Esport podcast being all written out there, especially since I'm going to be turning this more into a podcast. So, anyways, without further ado, I'm going to go and put on the conversation. Hope you all enjoy it. And, yeah, here it is. All right, so how's everyone doing? So, Jeff, real quick, Jeff, what do you do for a living now?
Right now, I'm a software engineer for a defense contractor here in Northern Virginia. So
That sounds important.
that's my daytime job. Not as important as it sounds, really. Just any other 8 to 5 essentially.
Gotcha. So how's everyone doing? How this is the first time I've had this many people on a show, and also this is Ru Yang, this is the first time I talked to you. I think in person, I believe, because I don't think I talked to you at the CSL finals, did I?
Yeah, I wasn't at CSL finals. That was just Darian and the Chibi One team. So this is definitely our first time talking, unless there's something I just happen to forget.
I don't forget anything, so no, it wasn't. There's no other time. Nothing? Really? You guys you don't have to take me seriously on that. You can just call me out on my bullshit.
I can honestly assume that you probably do remember everything. I'm not gonna lie.
I actually do try. I do feel like I have a pretty good memory on a lot of stuff, just in general. Especially people I meet. I usually know where I've met someone and the context of it, and I don't remember their names. I remember their faces and what we talked about though. But I remember you, Darian, because obviously we follow each other on Twitter. Your name is on Twitter, so that's fine. And Jeff, I remember Jeff plenty because we've talked to him numerous times throughout just Collegiate League of Legends seasons. So yeah, I try to keep a good steel trap on everything. I also used to keep spreadsheets on people too, just who they are, as far as Collegiate goes. I don't just do this for random people that I meet, but yeah, Collegiate people what school they go to, what do they do there. I try to leave a note about them too, where I used to talk to them from, or just what they're a quirk about them as far as their gameplay or their style or something like that, their coaching style or the way they play or something like that. So I try to give people respect in that manner and remember them. But again, I am terrible with names, especially when in online stuff you have to remember multiple names, not just one. So it kind of throws me for a loop. But anyway, someone talk. How you doing? Ru Yang, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Just kind of been chilling recently. Yeah. My life is probably the most boring out of us three right now.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Darian, how you doing, man?
It's been great. I stopped playing League of Legends and my life has never been better.
I did too. Oh my god, yeah. I stopped playing back in I think August or so. I don't know. I'm very verbal on Twitter about that stuff. So yeah, I stopped playing way back, and I started discovering other games, and it's been pretty nice. I got into Rainbow Six, and I love Rainbow Six a lot.
I think all of us in this call has pretty much stopped playing League of Legends. I don't really play anymore either.
Team Fight Tactics.
Yeah,
is a better
that's
game.
Pretty much it. Just Team Fight Tactics.
I've heard a lot about that. I still haven't played any of those auto chess kind of things.
I haven't really played as much League lately, but I want to. I'm actually the opposite. So I haven't played as much League. Not really voluntarily, but just lack of time.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't seem like you have that much time in the first place.
I mean, just this past month, I guess. But I've been trying to find some time to play some games. I've been getting into TFT just a little bit, but it's a bit too much for me to learn. I'm just trying to do my best. I think I actually managed to win one game yesterday because I just went all Yordles. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it seemed to work out. So tried the same thing the game after that, and I got the last place. So I don't really know how the game works.
I guess I should probably actually. So again, this is the first time I've had multiple people. I guess 3 people in general on my show, and also where they aren't distinct. Last time I had a man and a woman on the show, and you can kind of tell who they are. It was pretty easy because just voices. So let's go down. So Ru Yang, go and speak real quick so people can get familiar with your voice.
Hello, this is my voice.
Darian, do the same.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Darian.
There you go. Jeff, you mind doing the same?
Hey, I'm Jeff. Yep.
Yeah. So Jeff, fun fact, he's in his car right now because we just talked about it. He is pretty busy these days, so he's in his car. Thank you very much for doing that, by the way. Like that's super accommodating. I'm sorry you're kind of just chilling in your car now.
No problem. No problem. It's actually pretty cozy in here.
So how do you go from coach to SFU of SFU's varsity team to defense contractor? Because that's a big leap, and I'm not. I like you're just like fresh out of college, right?
No, actually, I graduated 3 years ago.
Really?
So I am definitely not fresh out of college. Yeah, I graduated in 2016, so
Oh.
it's been quite a while now. But I'm not really that young in terms of League of Legends. So I'm 26 now, which I think is actually fairly old for video gaming. But the good thing about doing anything that's not esports though is that I get to feel pretty young again. So
Yeah. That's the great thing is that out in the real world we're still spry, and even though here in esports my reaction time is terrible anymore. It used to be way better. That's why I started one tricking in League of Legends. Like whenever I was playing it, I just couldn't do any other champions anymore because I don't know, it just wasn't I just couldn't keep up. Go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that's actually what I do in League nowadays too. I used to actually try really hard to expand my champion pool when I was coaching for SFU, so I get to, I get like the full flavor of what's going on in the meta and stuff. But nowadays, with lack of time, I just get frustrated if I have to play too many different champions because I'm just not good, right? So I actually just one trick as well too because it gives me the illusion that I'm still decent at the game and I get to have some fun.
So you were coaching while graduated?
Yes.
And Darian, you're the coach now?
No, maybe.
Well, I mean, I think during Darian's era there was never really like a formally defined coach. It was just more of a, everyone kind of pitches in. We all do what we can when we have time, right? So this previous year, I really didn't have as much time to really coach the guys as before. The 2 years prior to that, I think I attended every single practice and every single team meeting, but this last year I definitely could not. And so it became more of just if anyone could make it, we just kind of had that person attend.
All right. So, Ruyang, what do you do on the team on SFU right now? It says senior advisor. What does that actually mean, though?
It's just well, I'm actually transferring to a different school, but I do still want to stick around with SFU Esports. So senior advisor is just kind of I can't necessarily be around to do a lot of in-person stuff anymore, but I do still want to help. So I'm just kind of sticking around. I'm kind of giving ideas, opinions, stuff like that, just helping out however I can online. Just because before I did do a lot of the hiring, so I do know a lot of the people who are kind of organize the events and whatnot. So it's just I'm just sticking around to make sure things still run smoothly and whatnot. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And Darian, then you were kind of like iffy on whether or not you're an actual coach. I mean, then Jeff said that it was kind of a get in where you fit in kind of thing. What do you like overall? What is your kind of thing at SFU as far as the team goes?
So I used to do JV1 coaching. I did that up until the most recent year. I helped Jeff with ELO coaching, and then I got moved up from VP External to president of SFU Esports.
And what does it involve? Like, what does being a president involve, like, as far as SFU goes?
I pretty much run the entire club, and I tell people what to do. And I just need to figure out the direction the club needs to go in and how we can grow and prosper as a gaming club in Canada, because SFU does not support us well.
Yeah, I heard that. But one of your correct me if I'm wrong. SFU is close to UBC, correct?
Kind of, not really.
But it's on that side of the like of Canada, right? Like just. Like...
Yeah, we're like Yeah. In that sense, yes, but then in like the more local sense, it's like we're like a 1 hour, 2 hour drive away.
Okay, that's still not bad though. So I mean, I get what you're saying. From what I understand, so SFU, like, they just completely refuse to help you guys out? Because from what I understand is UBC, they're starting to get some help from their actual school, and SFU hasn't gotten to that point yet.
I think I can kind of speak a bit more to that, just
Go for it.
because that is something. We're not getting like specific support from the school itself, but through kind of the uh, systems that we do get help from. So like SFSS, which is like the student society that kind of helps give us the club's funding for events and whatnot. I have kind of started talking to them about just kind of giving us a bit more help in that sense. So like while we're not necessarily getting specific help from the school, that we are getting a bit more help within the kind of means of help that we were getting before. So I mean, it's definitely nowhere near UBC's level yet, but it's slowly improving.
Well, UBC is also just a giant school, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Like SFU is probably a little bit smaller than UBC for sure, but SFU is like kind of small in general, isn't it?
Okay, so here's the thing with SFU, right? So UBC has one main campus here. They essentially have one school. They have like another school like up north, but that's actually they treat it as a different school.
Yeah.
It still has a UBC name, but it's a different school. With SFU, we essentially have a total of what, like 5 campuses split across the lower mainland here.
Okay.
And which is what our main Burnaby campus is already small, even though it's our main campus. And then you have all these, like for me, I don't even go to the main campus. I go to a different campus. Like my school is built inside of a shopping mall.
Okay.
It's like that kind of school. Like,
I know what you mean.
so with how split SFU is, it's really hard to really get a big community going sometimes. And one of the other things we realize, I don't like to bash on this, but UBC's new dean or president or whatever, he's more of a millennial younger generation guy, right? Like Sana Ono. He's more closer to this generation of people, so he could. It's easy for him to understand esports. Up until like most recently, SFU's president was just some really old dude, and I'm pretty sure if we ever had to explain esports to him and try to really pitch why SFU should support a varsity program, he would not really understand the impact esports has as of now and just how big it's gotten.
Okay.
But that's just my thing.
I mean, you're president, so it's not just your thing. That's actually it's quite a priority as far as things go. So, is there any sort of well, you said there's like satellite campuses. How do you manage creating an organization and maintaining it with like 5? I think you said 5 different campuses.
So there's 5 campuses. 3 of the satellite campuses are technically different buildings within one part of Vancouver. It's mainly split into, there's the Burnaby campus, which is the main campus on the mountain. There's a Surrey campus, which is the one built inside a shopping mall. And then there's the 3 Vancouver campuses, so it's mainly split into those 3. What happens is Burnaby, because it's the main campus, everything we mainly do happens there. And occasionally we do stuff in the Surrey campus because we want to really incorporate anyone from SFU that we can without leaving them out, and also because sometimes there's just stuff that's easy to do at Surrey campus. While the Vancouver campus, because those 3 campuses are really dedicated towards a very niche major and school, we can't really do events there because there's just no room to hold events, and it's also just not really built, I guess, to support what we do in general.
Gotcha. Jeff, do you ever miss it? Like you've been removed for about a year now, right? Or less, maybe a little under a year.
Do I miss Vancouver, or do I miss school?
No. Collegiate esports.
Oh, Collegiate esports. It's a mixed bag, I guess.
I mean, I'm kind of in the same
You know,
boat.
there were definitely some frustrations with collegiate esports, or just esports as a whole. You know, a lot of times you might feel a bit powerless here and there. You know, you don't always get the outcome that you necessarily want, and there's definitely for sure a lack of stability in the entire thing, because you're never really sure if you're going to make it to the next round or what's going to happen. You know, how many months down the road. but at the same time, I also do miss that. I do miss that fear of losing. I guess there's an excitement to that that's not really present in my life anymore. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, I would say. I'd love to still do it if given the time, but it's just like previously, my jobs offered me a lot more time off, and I had a lot more. That's the main issue, really. It's just time. But if given the time, I would love to try to keep doing it. Take another team, maybe to LA if I could. But there's a bit less incentive for me now, I guess. When we were all young guys, we were all broke as hell. The collegiate, but the prize money seemed like quite a lot.
Yeah.
So that was actually a big push for some of the students too to really do well. And then, well, they got that scholarship, and afterwards, school was paid off for them, and so they didn't really want to try as hard. I understand because once you've been there once, it does get a little bit dull the third and fourth time around. So.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I see. I'm kind of in the same boat too. I mean, I have a totally different perspective from it because I'm on the other side. I'm not competing for anything. Well, I technically, actually, I'm competing every freaking day I was on the broadcast because there's always someone there willing to snatch your job up from you. Thankfully, I was contracted with CSL and I didn't really have to worry too much about that because I got in like really early and I was pretty much just I pretty much just like called that my home. That's why you never really see me cast anywhere else because I don't want that feeling of someone could take my job, or like I have to compete with people, especially competing. I hate competing with other casters because more than likely they're my friend or a respected colleague, and I really hate shooting down one of my like someone I respect. So that's actually one of the reasons why I stayed at CSL for so long and didn't really move to any other thing. I never tried for Riot. I think I tried for Riot one time way early on before I knew better about what I was getting into, but I tried to stick with CSL and I never wanted to leave as far as like casting was concerned, and then I stopped doing league casting and I wanted to do Rainbow Six and they didn't have that, so I had to like branch out a little bit. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. It's a mixed bag for me too. Like as far as Collegiate, I think the only thing I'm going to be doing is this podcast. I don't know if I'm going to be doing anything next year because yeah, it's just too much work. Like you said, it is a big time issue. I have a pretty steady job. Like it's the exact same hours every day, Monday through Friday. I work 7 to 3, not 8 to 5. That's pretty intense. But I work 7 to 3, but I also have my wife. I do like to play my own video games. I've been more into solo adventures lately. Just like I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 5 right now. That's only because like I'm just getting tired of stress. I feel like I've stressed myself out too much with esports. And yeah, you're 26. I don't know. It's nice. I don't know. I think that's when I started like contemplating. No, actually, I think 26 was 26 when I started actually getting into esports. What year is it? What how old am I? That was like 5 years ago. Yeah, I think that's when I started getting into esports and like really like revving up and stuff like that and like wanting to do it for a living. And now I'm like 5 years later, I'm like, I want to do defense contracting. Sounds way better.
It's honestly not fun. Not that much fun here.
I'm not saying it's fun at all. I'm just saying an alternative. Yeah. So you're living in the United States now.
Yes, I am actually. I'm living here in Northern Virginia, quite a far off way from Vancouver. And I do miss it quite a lot. But yeah, hopefully one day I'll get to go back. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, it's your life. You can do it if you want to eventually. So don't ever think you can't. That's for sure. And like obviously you have defense contracting on your resume, so I'm sure you can find something in Vancouver sometime in your life. But how do you like the United States? Like I've never actually lived in a different country. I've lived in a lot of places in the United States, from East Coast to West Coast. How do you like it here?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
It's not
a
home.
mixed bag again, I would say.
Yeah,
it's not home for me. It is a mixed bag.
I live here, and it's not home for me.
Yeah, I will say things that Americans take for granted are the variety of businesses that you guys have. You guys have so many options for many things. And honestly, whatever new feature businesses roll out, you guys always get them first. Um, things like obviously Uber, we didn't have that in Vancouver. That wasn't really necessarily due to not technology not being there, but just the city being slow to adopt these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like Amazon Fresh, so many kinds of delivery options where it's just not there in Vancouver. Um, Shipping in general is just cheaper here. I mean, a lot of things are cheaper actually. Maybe not the area that I live in, but food as a whole, in the U.S. it's really cheap. It's really nice. But really just the options, man. Like, wow, like there's just so many things that when I came back to the States, I was like, wow, like I totally forgot I could buy this or I could even do this. And when you're living in Vancouver, it's a nice place, obviously, but you have to kind of work around some things because you just don't have the option.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's fair. Ruyang, you ever been to the United States?
Uh, Not a lot, especially recently, but I've been to Vegas on vacation with my
I
family.
live in Vegas. Next time you're here, text me. I'll show you a good restaurant.
Yeah, and but like otherwise, I think most of my experiences in the States were just like Seattle and all that stuff, which is pretty typical. I'll be going back again this summer for PAX, but
Okay, yeah.
otherwise, like my United States experiences have been very minimal.
You guys do you guys have any like what like so you're moving to a different college, correct?
Yeah, I am.
And what year are you in right now? Like when are you looking to graduate?
Um, Luckily, I'm going into like a 2 year like diploma program, so it's kind of already set in stone that I'll be graduating in 2 years, I guess, and then we'll see where we go from there. But I'll probably just start working and see where things go. Probably won't go back to school for a while afterwards.
And you said you're gonna still try to help out SFU while you're at a different college.
Yeah, well, personally, I just always want to be involved with esports in some way, and just staying involved with SFE esports is a great way to just kind of make sure I'm staying involved with that.
Fair enough. Darian, you're president. Are you looking to continue that after you graduate, or are you just gonna hand that off to somebody and hope for the best on them?
Hopefully, when I graduate, I can have at least one person I know I can trust to run the club and be president. If I really have to run the club after I graduate, I guess I will. But I don't think technically we're not even supposed to have people that are graduated and not, or people that don't even go to SFU as our execs. So
Yeah. So that would be
it's a really rough situation because there are people that are like, you'll join a club. Oh yes, I like esports. I like gaming. I love League of Legends, or like I love Dota, whatever. And you'll join the club, you want to help out, but then it's hard to really, because it's like a small thing. It's either for interest and you just want some volunteer stuff on the side. But when you really want someone to find, when you really want to find someone that's like, are you committed to be president and run this actual thing and run like what, a club of 50 people execs, and then whatever, how big of a club you actually have, that's when you tell people it's commitment and you don't get paid and you're doing this out of just
yeah.
pure dedication and devotion, like that's the hard part.
Yeah, it's tough because people join the club because they like video games, right? But to run the club, it's more akin to business at that point, and so you kind of have to find someone who. So I think actually many of the presidents that I've seen in my time at SFU Esports, they were actually business majors or communications majors because there's this overlap with wanting to play video games and also having the charisma and the guts to run an organization like this. And it's not really too common actually. And I think that's a difficulty we always have now with finding the next president and whatnot is you got to find someone who joins because of video games, but they stay because business, but not really business because you don't make money. It's kind of more of a mock business, but it's almost treated as such given the organization.
I mean, if anything, it shows that you can do something on your resume like that. As far as like business organization, delegating, which is you're talking about you telling people what to do, Darian, something like that. So I mean, if anything, I mean that's kind of the thing about college. While you're in college, you can do that sort of thing, but yeah, when you're out of college, it's way harder because when you're out of college, you need to make money because you're out in the world. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I mean most people just stopped doing collegiate or stopped doing esports in general, it's because well, they're done with college and there's not much they want to with professional esports or anything like that. It does usually requires you to move, and some people aren't keen on that. So, yeah, it's doing the volunteer thing when you're out of college is way more difficult than when you're in college. But with that being said, I am wondering, like, so you three, I've seen you interact on Twitter. Obviously, you hit me up on Twitter and talking about all this, talking about the show and everything like that. Do you ever, are you guys like, you ever like hang out? And well, I guess obviously Jeff can't anymore because you're in Virginia. But like, do you guys like socialize outside of like Twitter and all that? Do you guys like meet up or anything like that? I don't know how this works. I've never actually had friends in a network like this while I'm in college. Like I had friends in college, but it wasn't like I didn't have Twitter. I think I might have deleted my Facebook like way back in the day. So if anyone wanted to get a hold of me, they texted me if I decided to have my phone on me, which nowadays I have it all the time because I have to do crap on Twitter, but and Discord. But like, do you guys ever socialize outside of the social media?
Yeah, I live 10 minutes from Rui.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. And I mean, whenever I remember talking to you at CSL, you did cite Jeff as being an inspiration. So I'm assuming you guys are tight as well, or at least kosher.
We used to play basketball together, then he moved, and then we've just stopped playing. Okay, like, because I had my own little group that played basketball, and then I knew Jeff really enjoyed basketball, so we invited him. Mm-hmm. It was always a great time. Then once Jeff moved, it kind of got sad because there's always this running joke. It's like, man, I miss Jeff. But then we actually think about it, it's like,
you guys actually do miss Jeff.
Yeah, we actually do miss Jeff.
What do you mean?
We say it as a review, but we also actually do really miss Jeff. Like, not even just in the basket group.
We definitely hung out quite a lot, and that's one of the things that our organization does really well. Is it bonds people together. I can't really speak for the competitive levels of it. I don't really follow the other sports besides League of Legends as much, so I don't know how we place there. But within the org itself, I think people become really good friends. And it's something that I really wish I had the entire time I was in college. So that's why I'm actually really proud of what's been built here now. It's been great to get people together, to actually get them to hang out in real life, and to even become friends outside of the game. So yeah.
Fair enough. Ruyang, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about bonding in person, or is it just something you do and then behind the back you're like, God, I hope I don't do that again, and you end up doing it again, and you saying the same thing, and it's this vicious cycle?
Personally, like I'm kind of the same. Where like it's definitely been nice, like just kind of meeting all these people who share this kind of common interest and building a friendship out of it. Like our former VP internal, Simon, he kind of just gradually joined into my other friend groups, and like he's always just kind of been a good friend of ours too. He's recently went back to Korea because he has to do military service, but like I went to Korea for like 2 weeks to hang out with him. Darian's gonna be doing that in like a month or so. Like it's definitely been good building up like all these friendships and stuff, but part of me is still just kind of like it's hard for me to kind of force myself into doing like having social interactions and stuff. So like usually on days where it's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna have like a social event or something, I'll go. The first few minutes is kind of like, first of all, I'll feel awkward for me and I'm seeing like, why am I here? Even though we have this like common interest, blah blah blah. But then like at the end, it's like, you know what, this is awesome. I enjoy hanging out as always, but like all this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how it is for me.
I get you. I actually do that too. I go to places where I know people have like, we all have a commonality and we're there for a reason, and then I usually end up just kind of isolating myself and just viewing everybody. I'm really into people watching, which is weird. Some people feel like it's creepy, but it's at the same time, like I don't have a problem socializing when I have to socialize. I have a problem wanting to socialize because I normally don't. So when I'm at any sort of thing where like gathering where people have things in common, we're there for a reason. Like wrestling I'm a little bit better in. Mostly, honestly, because I'm drinking a little bit. I don't really drink at esports things unless it's like afterward and I'm just with my crew and that's it. But yeah, I normally just isolate myself and people watch because I don't feel like, I don't know if it's a sense of belonging or a sense of like, I don't know what it is. I'm just kind of an antisocial person. Unless you like get me on a task like this, I'm more than happy to speak. I really do love talking to people when it's like for like, you know, just things and we just want to chill out. Groups I'm not good with. I really enjoy like very small like intimate sessions, not intimate as in like romance or anything, but intimate as in like I can talk and not be talked over. That's actually one thing that really bothers me too, is when I'm in a group, I will speak and I don't know what it is with humans, but they sometimes, I guess they just don't acknowledge my voice, or maybe I just have one of those voices where it doesn't register on like wavelengths. I don't know, but I will be talked over so often, and by that point, when someone does that to me, I get kind of mad and I just want to headbutt them, but I can't do that because it's not socially acceptable. Even though it's socially acceptable for them to speak over me, I get in that situation. And then I regret being in groups, and that's why I go onto Discord and I just say I just get my small groups, my little people that I want on here and talk that way. I have not been talked over once today here. That's been great. Thank you guys. It's very nice.
Yeah, I definitely share that feeling where it's just like you're in a group, you want to say something and someone talks over you, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess I was kind of straight back into my little corner of the circle.
I'm like, if you're not going to listen to me, well, piss off. I don't want to talk to you then.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing. I try to control that. My wife really tries to get me maybe more outgoing. And I think now that we're, like, as we get older, she's been trying to, like, she's been, like, less and less about it. 'Cause she knows I'm just kind of stubborn and stuck in my ways that way. But she usually backs me up whenever we're out in public and, like, somebody talks over me. She'll because she has one of those voices where people listen to it. No one ever talks over her. I don't understand it, but which I'm glad. Don't get me wrong, but she notices whenever I get talked over, and she can see me just like just backing away and not worrying about it. But then she'll like pipe up and say like I had something to say, which is really nice of her. But if I'm by myself, I don't even worry about it unless I have a drink. If I have a drink, then I'm way more sociable, and I hate having to rely on that because I don't like relying on things to make me be something or to do something in general. Obviously, I work for money, so that's obviously why I work. But, you know, just in general, I get way more sociable when I have a drink because I think maybe I just get louder. Like, just a drink. I don't go beyond that to converse, but I don't know what it is. That's usually how I get over my social anxiety. Well, that's really cool. You guys all hang out, and and I once again, I'm actually really sorry if I'm like having trouble, I guess emceeing this because again, my first time doing this many people on one time, and I was really looking forward to the challenge. So apologies if I'm like not bouncing back and forth properly, but I did want to mention, Jeff, you're actually not the only person from Collegiate that has been a contractor for the U.S. government because Degon used to do that too. He used to work for Riot, Degon the Shoutcaster, and then he did also Collegiate stuff too. Yeah, he used to be a contractor for the government. And he actually dropped everything. I think he lived in Washington D.C. because he was doing actual work like he was like doing something. I don't know. I don't think he could talk about it. But
so
yeah.
I actually knew he was from Virginia because I saw that on his profile at one point. But it's actually no surprise because I think. I mean, here around Virginia, Maryland, D.C. area, a lot of the jobs are government related. I think it was like 1 in 10 people here are affiliated with the FBI or the CIA. Just to give a food for thought. If you ever come here, don't commit a crime because you never know how many people are undercover around you.
Jesus.
Yeah, the 4 biggest defense contractors in the U.S. Lockheed, Boeing, BAE, and Raytheon are all located here. So that's essentially how a lot of people end up in the defense contracting. But yeah, a lot of jobs for the government specifically just out here. But otherwise, there's not much else to do, frankly speaking. At least from my experience, there's nothing for me to really do on my time off.
Yeah, Virginia's not one of the notable states for fun.
Yeah, that for sure. You don't really look on the map and say, I want to live in Virginia. That's like, no one says that, like, Seattle seems like a lot of fun. Everywhere in California seems great. Vancouver, honestly, a lot of great things to do. I used to complain all the time that in Vancouver we had nothing to do except eat. But looking back, like there really is nothing to do here. Nothing to eat either, actually. So it's
Vegas
even
is
worse.
fun. Should go to Vegas.
Oh yeah, Vegas sounds fun, but I don't know if I could handle living there.
Oh, it's not that bad. So what would be your hang up with living here?
Oh, I just mean like if you I actually used to live in California. I was studying there for school for a while. And me liking to play video games, I always want to stay indoors, and I just look outside and I see the sun, and I would get annoyed.
It's
I was in San Diego, and so you see the guys in their swim trunks, with the surfboards and the beaches and stuff, and you just look at that and you're like, God, like I am wasting my time here.
Vegas is great for you. Okay, so that is a myth in Vegas because it was 102 today, and there's no water. There's pools.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no beach. There's no sunny California. It's hot, arid Vegas that will beat you down into submission until you go back inside. There's nothing to do outside during the day in Vegas.
So actually, something about that, what you just said, there's no water in Vegas. I don't know if I could handle that either, because one of the big benefits of living in Vancouver is you can drink the tap water. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
Well,
That's like
no,
something
okay.
I miss extremely.
Okay, you can drink the tap water here. No, the tap water here is fine. So Vegas is oh my gosh, I'm gonna be really ignorant. I'm actually gonna look it up. Vegas actually, I want to say it means the oasis. I think. But yeah, no, it's or I think it's called the oasis. But or no, the meadows. It's Spanish for the meadows. So Vegas is one of those places that has like a lot of water underneath the sand in the ground. There's a huge amount of water here, and that's why they call it the oasis, because there is like actual drinkable water here. It's just not up on the surface. There's no lakes here. There's no ponds. There's a river. I guess maybe actually a lake called Lake Mead. I've never actually been in there, but apparently you can swim in there, you can fish in there, but most people rely on pools here, and like that's about what you can do. But they're public pools, unless you own your own house and like have all that. I don't. I live in an apartment, so yeah. There's water. No, there's very drinkable water here. It's just you're just not gonna go outside and do anything with water, more than likely.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
It's hard to compete with Vancouver, when Canada has, I think, more fresh water than the rest of the world combined, or
I
something
do want to
like
go to
that.
Vancouver really bad because I know a photographer friend up in Vancouver. Takes some incredible pictures, and I want to go meet him someday because he comes down here to Vegas every now and then. I don't know. I just want to travel to a different country in general. Canada seems like makes the most sense to me.
I will say, like recently we've been fairly fortunate with like the summer weather where it's like not super hot, but like last year, for
Lies.
example,
Biggest
last
lie
year
in my life.
it's been okay, but like
Yeah.
last year when the weather was like really bad, every time I looked on Twitter, I saw your tweets complaining about how hot it was in Vegas, and I just thought to myself, you know what? This isn't too bad. I think I'll live with it.
Yeah.
So I am
Yeah.
appreciative of that.
Okay, to be fair, I don't think Vegas has water, like the water, like what is it? Last year when it was actually god awful with that heat wave, the city was like, oh yeah, you guys can't like water your lawns anymore. You guys can't like have your sprinklers on. You can only have it on like once a week, every like other week or something, and you gotta like cut your water usage for your gardens and whatever. I think that was when it was actually at its like
Like
worse.
Vegas was like that, or
No, like in
or
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
So like I'm pretty like I don't know if Vegas ever gets this.
So if there are lawns here, they're all fake. I mean, you have to water them and stuff, but there's no. I don't think there's any natural grass actually growing here. So a lot of the places don't have grass. Like a lot of apartments do, but there are some places that actually don't have grass. Like the first house I lived in when I moved here, it did not have a grass backyard. It was sand and dirt. It was like gravel and sand kind of. It was I don't know. It was just some weird mixture of stuff, and it was not very appeasing, and it got really hot back there, and there's really no point. Grass, you don't understand. I don't know if you guys ever been to a place without grass, like lived in a place without grass, but I actually really appreciate grass now because I don't get it. I can't just take my sandals off or my flip flops off and like walk outside without burning, like scalding the bottom of my feet. I have to. Grass is great for just never appreciated grass until I moved to Vegas. I love grass, and the places with grass here, like they, they probably have some money because they own their own house and they could put grass in it. Jeff, are you still in your car?
No, actually, I'm out. So I managed to get back home now. So
okay, good. Wait, you were podcasting while driving?
Yes, but it was hands free. So that's the law here. You can use electronics while you're driving as long as it's hands free. So
I wasn't criticizing. I was concerned for your safety. That's all good.
Oh no, I'm a very safe driver. No worries. Going from a motorcycle to a car, it's walking.
Oh yeah, you had a motorcycle. I remember you posting pictures about that. I am deathly afraid of motorcycles. I'm not. I won't say I'm deathly afraid of it. I rented a motorcycle one time in Florida, and I didn't know how to ride it, and I ended up running into the back of a van. It didn't damage the van. It actually hurt me more. And then it was like a working van because there was like some construction going on. And then I left, and I was like, this probably isn't for me. This life I don't think I need this life. So that was the last time I rode a motorcycle, and now I felt really stupid after that. And I told myself I probably won't ever drive a motorcycle again. Fun fact about me. But anything else you guys want to close out with? Anything? It's been approaching about 40 minutes. I'm gonna be honest. My wife is kind of under the weather today, so I kind of want to go take care of her. But is there anything else you guys want to chat about? Just close out with anything like that? Ruyang, we can start with you.
Not much. Just I just always enjoy talking about esports, whether it's collegiate, which is esports on grander scale. So this was fun for me. For anyone listening, support your local esports scene. that's pretty much all I got.
Especially collegiate. That's extremely important with collegiate.
Yeah, definitely.
Darian?
Oh, follow me on Twitter.
Oh yeah, follow you on Twitter. What's your Twitter?
Ruixu38. So this RUIXU38. First, yeah. Follow me on Twitter.
There you go. Darian, any closing words? Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to get off your chest before we leave?
Honestly, I was just here for experience. Also, mainly because I missed Jeff and I missed you. Because I don't know if you know, SFU JV1 did not do so great this year, so we obviously had no chance of going to LA anyways, and also you stopped casting League of Legends for CSL, so
I was to say I didn't have any chance of going to LA anyways. Yeah, either I was still doing work for CSL, and they decided not to invite me out. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you technically don't need me anymore because as far as like live events, because I did my reduced role. But yeah, sorry about that.
yeah,
man.
It's fine. We have the podcast. I have you on Twitter. This is it.
Yeah.
I don't need to waste like $700 and wait an entire year for 3 days of LA. if I can just add you on Twitter, it's fine.
There you go, man. You can always add me on Twitter. Never hesitate. Jeff, how you going? How you doing, man? You have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to get off your chest?
I'm doing okay. I miss Vancouver quite a lot. Think about you guys every day. Darian, Rui, you guys are on the ground there in Vancouver. So what do you guys think of our chances next year? I know we didn't really hit as high as we wanted to this year, but how's our team looking like, huh?
Do you want an optimistic answer or a realistic answer? I can give you one, but not both.
Give me the realistic one. I want to see what our problems are.
A lot of our kids get put on academic probation.
Ooh.
A lot of kids have lost motivation to play League of Legends just because it's either like you play this game for so long you really just hate this game, like how I do, or it's just there are like a lot of problems. Like again, it's like infrastructure. SFU doesn't support us, so we're actually giving up a lot of our time studying and like working to support. Was it like barely a chance of playing for what? Prize with CSL when we won was $1,000 split between 6 people, not including subs. Then it's also just we just don't have. The SFU community is just very isolated, and even if there are really good people, they just don't come out and talk to us, and we won't ever meet them.
Yeah, it's a very different, very different feeling from what it used to be. I think when I was playing.
I was actually gonna ask that. So I guess if you want to call it like the glory days of SFU, you guys were pretty a dynamite team. Like you guys did really well. What's changed besides those players graduating? What has changed?
It's a good question. I mean, I wouldn't even say those players graduated. I think the only one who's graduated is Quinn and Sam, and they only graduated recently too, actually. So I think it's more just like there's not as much incentive for players at our school to really come out and try their best anymore. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, back in the days, when I was playing, we didn't even get that much scholarship money, but we wanted to play because it was a new thing. It was really cool. It was a chance for something that no one had ever done before, and that kind of energy really made us want to work hard, play a lot, and give it our all in this game. But I think lately it's just now that there's all this history in League of Legends, you kind of see how things play out, and you think to yourself, well, maybe it's not what I really want to do anymore. You have a lot more examples to look at. So I'll give one example is Goldjet. He's everyone knows he's a really good player. Some people touted him as like the best top player in Collegiate at
I
one
was one of
point.
those. He really impressed
Yeah,
me.
I believed it too. I believed it too. And he actually did things like he went to the Echo Fox boot camp, I think. And had some things going on with LCS teams, and he just said he didn't really want to do it. Um, he thought that it wasn't a very stable career. He didn't really like the whole vibe of the whole team house stuff like that, and um, that's kind of the nature of League of Legends now is you kind of get to see how things play out. You start to realize, well, the end game is you go to like a professional team, an LCS house, you live there, you play for a while, you either become Bjergsen or you don't become anything, right? And then someone replaces you a couple of years down the road, and that kind of lifestyle is just not as attractive anymore.
Right.
Yeah, because back in the day there was so much uncertainty, but there was a lot of hope too.
That
There
was
was a lot
it
of
was a dream. It was a dream, and you hadn't seen
exactly,
anyone actually live that dream, and you didn't know.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. And so the fact that like no one had ever accomplished this dream before, that was what really gave us the hunger to try hard and do our best. And now that we've seen the same story a couple of times, you realize, well, even if I put all this time into it, will it really be worth it in the end? And a lot more people are coming to the answer of no, actually. Um, so I don't know. It's tough. We'll see where Collegiate goes. I do know that there's a lot of really brilliant minds out there who, they would succeed in either direction. They would do really well in school if they wanted to, or they would do really well in league if they want to. And it's just that more and more of them are now just choosing school because they just think that it's a smarter path compared to the life of a potential, professional player. And even then, that's just a mere chance, right? There's no certainty that you're actually going to be able to go pro. And if you don't go pro, well, I mean, going to be honest, the life of an amateur League of Legends player is not so great. It's
No.
really not that good. Yeah,
When you're in that situation, you pretty much have to be a Twitch streamer and get sponsors.
yeah, exactly. I think the teams that are doing really well right now, Maryville, is a huge standout, but
Yeah.
that school incentivizes its players tremendously. They got like the education paid for. There's a whole, I don't entirely know what they do there, but it seems like they've got the program set up really well. So props to Clerky on that. And same thing with UCI. Um, the school supports those guys a lot, and so there's a lot of incentive for the players to do well and stay on the team. But elsewhere, I think we've seen a lot of the other schools fall off because you just you just can't really incentivize the players enough beyond hey, you might be able to go pro. And this dream is just slowly dying out in my opinion. More and more people are seeing it as not what they want to do because it's not really as cool as it used to be anymore, and so they're going back to the more traditional route of just finishing school and pursuing other things in life. Yeah.
I agree. Very much so. Ruang, your avatar's
I
lit up. You have something to say?
I feel like I agree with most of that, but also part of me has like a more optimistic take on it, which is just in general. I think well, there's two sides to it. On one side, I think with Riot trying to get a bit even more involved with Collegiate, part of me hopes that that dream of making pro through Collegiate can kind of become a bit more alive for some people, and hopefully that motivation can help us kind of find new talent through Collegiate. Because right now, I don't want to like throw shade at these players, but like I feel like a lot of the kind of big teams that have like these scholarship programs and stuff are just kind of bringing on former players who just aren't quite good enough to kind of compete for a spot on like a big LCS team now. But like I'm not trying to throw shade at those players, but I do feel like that is kind of what Collegiate has devolved into a bit recently because of the scholarship programs. Of course they do. Of course they do deserve the spot, and they're still having to go through the education. But I feel like that's kind of what it has become. I feel like as Riot kind of becomes more involved with Collegiate, they were making their own kind of collegiate. Uh, I don't know, like their own kind of like NCAA kind of style thing for Collegiate. I hope that that changes a bit, but also just it's also just the nature of esports in general. One game dies, another takes its place. I feel like even though League might not be doing great, a lot of the other games in terms of collegiate is still prospering. Even at SFU, obviously obviously our league team has struggled in recent time, but our Siege team has been putting up great results. Our Overwatch guys have been doing pretty well as well. Like there will always be other kind of big esports that take over from all levels, from like the big pro scene, like international level, to just kind of collegiate level. There will always be games that kind of take over and become the next kind of popular thing. So I think even if Collegiate League slowly dies out more and more, I think other games will take over, and we will find new players who kind of are motivated to try to use Collegiate to go pro and like use that as a route, and we'll see great players again.
Yeah, that's really true. And I will add that, I'm going to acknowledge that my perspective is probably a little bit biased because I'm definitely a lot older than the usual esports crowd. And so maybe, from my age, I see, League of Legends as kind of slowly falling off in terms of collegiate and the amateur scene. But, maybe for the young guy who's like 16, who's just about to enter school, he's thinking to himself like, wow, this is amazing. I really want to get into this. And who knows how many of those young guys or girls are out there that really are looking forward to this kind of stuff. I wouldn't know because I don't talk to them on a regular basis, thank God. But, I will say I'm definitely biased in that regard. So
We get more
I do
cynical
like
as we
Rui's
get older.
optimistic.
Or
I'd like to say no, but
well,
I
maybe
guess it's
cynical is not the
maybe.
real word, but I guess realistic, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I call it cynical because I personally am getting more cynical toward various things in life. But it also has guided me to other joys in life, like learning how to build solar power panels so I can live off the grid one day because I am so cynical that I want to remove myself from everything. But at the same time, learning how to provide energy with saving the environment. So it's all good. But yeah, no.
I just want to add one
Go on.
more thing about Collegiate, honestly. Like, I feel like, yeah, SFU is and it's really about the incentive thing too. If you really think about it, like, I know I've talked to some of my players, right? Some of them have told me they've chosen not to play in the future, like for the coming school year, because they've realized that there's no possible way for them to ever compete against schools' actual scholarship programs. Because how it is because of all these full programs, like with Maryville and UCI, they're getting their education funded, they're getting all this funding and like financial support, right? For SFU kids, a lot of us, when you're working part-time, which is essentially what, 6 to 8 hours, multiple times a week, you got to go to school, you got to study, make sure you're not on AP. You have a lot of things to juggle and you really can't deal with it. And then but then you also look at stuff, it's like again, it's the same with Rui saying, no offense to Maryville, but it's just like, if you look at their roster, how many of those players are actually once on any LCS like Challenger Series Academy or actually on an LCS team at one point in like past 2 years? And it also looks kind of like it feels like whoever just has the most money can just buy their players. But maybe it's also because I watch, like, I'm a big fan of basketball. I enjoy NCAA basketball. I enjoy March Madness, Final Four, all that stuff. I enjoy seeing talent like actually grow and prosper, then kids getting drafted, going big. So maybe I just have a different view on how collegiate should be run.
Well, I mean, yeah, you like almost everyone else in collegiate thinks it should be run different because I mean it's still getting to a point where you can do something like that. I mean, the NCAA has looked at esports and said not right now, but that doesn't mean in the future they're not. And that's kind of what Riot's trying to do with their Scholastic Association thing, is trying to get to that point. But it's just too early for that. But the hope is to get to that point as far as having some sort, like having just a plethora of schools that can compete rather than just the top 4 or 5, where any of the teams that go to LA, 3 of them are going to dominate, and then the other ones are good on their own merit and have some sort of incentive, but they're not. They're just, like you said, they can't compete with the kind of resources.
And to be honest, going off of Darian's point, this is kind of a thing that's existed since pretty much the beginning of time. Like as far as League of Legends goes, it's always been like this, right? We've the schools that essentially, quote unquote, bought their players always had an innate advantage, but our history. They didn't really stop us from getting upsets, right? I think that there's always a good chance for competitive schools that don't have the resources to overtake those that do, and that's kind of what makes it a bit fun. It's just that lately that's been harder to come by because the long-term incentives are no longer there, actually. And so that's something that I don't know, either Riot needs to look at, or we need to ask ourselves that as for the health of esports in general. What's going to happen here? Because when I say long-term incentives, I'm really talking about like people thinking they can make a career off of playing League of Legends, or or joining a professional team and something like that. And that's what pushed people to really try their hardest and be the underdog and still win, even without the additional resources. But now it's just like, the only teams that are doing well now are the ones with the short-term incentives, and that's just we'll pay off school, right? We'll get you on a varsity team. These are all just rather short-term things, to be quite honest, and that's not enough to entice. I mean, that's enough to get like certain people to attend your school and to win this year, but for a lot of other people, especially when you don't have these short-term incentives, and you don't have a long-term incentive, which is like there's no hope of ever going pro, or you don't see a point in being good at this game anymore. That's when the underdogs really start to fall off, and you're not going to see as many upsets anymore like you did with the old days of SFU. So I think it's something that really has to be addressed at one point, which is what are players actually going to be getting out of this game long term, and not just right now. Aside from just scholarship money, what are they actually going to be getting over the course of their lives? And that's something we haven't really quite figured out yet. So
that's a very fair point. There's a lot to figure out in general, especially like small schools. I can't even say small schools, because some of the smaller schools are the ones that are adopting these esports programs because they don't really have too much else to rely on as far as their athletic department. So
yeah, that's actually very true.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, I think I might have talked about it one time before, but it takes a little bit less to build an esports hub than it does an entire football arena with stadium, like a quasi stadium, like bleachers, all that outside, and not to mention the budgeting that it goes into, and like the training practices and everything like that. It's, from my understanding, it is far more economically sound for these small schools to get into esports, and not just economically sound, but just as far as space is concerned. Because again, you don't need 100 yards to build obviously more than 100 yards to build a football field. You don't need however big a basketball court is. Columbia Colleges it's like a hut. It's really cool inside, but it's a small gaming hut that they have right on campus. It's not very big, and they don't need it to be. And that's the beauty of esports programs in these smaller schools, is that if you don't have a football team or a basketball team, I mean, you don't need to, and you don't want to. You want something to be known for in athletics, but you don't want to. And obviously, I'm using esports as athletics here because that is what it's recognized as, and you don't want to take all this space to get yourself initiated into football or basketball. You do esports. It's great. That's what Columbia College did. Maryville University, I don't think they're a big school whatsoever. I've seen pictures around there, and it's mostly forest. They don't need that much room either. Harrisburg University, they built theirs in their basement, and it's literally a building squeezed in between a few other buildings. Harrisburg University, you're walking down the street in Harrisburg. It's not a very big city. It's not even a city. It's a town. And if you're not looking, you don't even know that that's Harrisburg University. So they built theirs in the basement, and it's fantastic because you don't need a football field for it. You don't need the outside stadium for it or anything like that. No one's really, at the moment, no one's coming to pay for tickets to, see these games every week like they are at NCAA's, so like basketball games. So it just makes sense for smaller schools to have esports in their curricular.
Very good points. Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add, Darian? Anything else you wanted to talk about with that?
I mean, no, I think you've got your points are pretty well and are pretty good, and they're probably the same ones I would have brought up.
Ruyang, anything to add?
No, I think most of it has been covered in terms of collegiate esports, at least.
Yeah, collegiate,
Yeah.
and anything outside of collegiate is a totally different beast. I feel like collegiate is just
Yeah.
its own thing, and
Yeah.
talking about amateur is a different conversation. Talking about professional is a different conversation. Talking about academy is even a kind of a different conversation. Actually, they get treated like professionals nowadays, so it's not they don't have it too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just feel like if there's a positive thing I could say to kind of like finish this off, it's just like it's easy to be kind of cynical and just like upset about the state of esports. I know I do that a lot on Twitter, but like at the end of the day, like it's still better to be optimistic and hope that esports can grow.
Don't get me wrong. I am holding out for the day that it actually, gets funding for multiple schools. I'm looking forward to that day. It's gonna happen. Just right now, it's not there, but it's gonna happen. It's inevitable that that it would be this big in collegiate, in North American collegiate system, and not have some sort of growth period to the point where it doesn't get to the point where we can watch it on ESPN or like the NCAA's. It's going to take a while, and there's going to be a lot of people that complain. I mean, we see people. I think it's like CBS or ABC. One of the networks has Overwatch on it, and you see posts all the time about people complaining about that because it's not traditional sports. I mean, there's always going to be some sort of feedback, negative feedback, pushback, but I mean, there's pushback with almost everything in this world nowadays. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has a voice, and we all have our ability to voice it and be opinionative, which is great in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it does seem daunting whenever you're trying to put something new out there like esports onto a public venue, because then you're getting all these people hating on it. But it's inevitable that it's going to be a part of society at this point. It's not just a collection of people in a club talking about video games. It's actually a global topic now, especially the professional scene. Like Overwatch is on actual major networks now. CS:GO is on a major network. I don't know if it actually still is. I know for sure it used to be the one in Atlanta, but
E-League. It was through E-League.
Yeah. Is that still on TV?
They haven't done E-League for CS:GO in a while, but like E-League
has
been. They've been mainly doing like fighting games now, but like they're still around doing television stuff.
Yeah. So the point is that professional usually gets there first. I mean, we had professional sports in football, basketball, all that before we ever got collegiate on a wider span, and it's inevitable. It's just. I mean, you can see that trend in everything. It's not just esports. You can see that trend in everything: baseball, football, basketball, anything. It gets big, people enjoy it. People in college want to play it for a hobby, and then eventually it gets picked up as something that they can get a scholarship for, and it's the same process. Again, we've seen it throughout history. Things get big, people don't ignore it after a while, and again, some of that acknowledgement is negative, but a lot of it's going to be positive, and regardless of the negative, there's not really much you can do to stop it because a lot of people want to play it. So that's just how I think that's how it's good. I am very optimistic for collegiate esports in general because professional's already there. It's small, but it's there regardless, and it's going to keep going there, and it's going to keep getting bigger, and collegiate will get there eventually too. That's how I feel. That's how I've always looked at collegiate. Because, trust me, like, I never used to broadcast for money because there was no money to go around. Now there is. I've actually seen it grow because I've been a part of that growth, and I've reaped the benefits from that growth. So it's nice. It's nice seeing the progress. Yeah, I think we should. How are you guys feeling? You guys want to talk about anything else, or you think we should? I think we should call it a day. It's been about an hour so far, and so far it's been good. I'm more than happy to keep talking, but if you guys feel like it's time, we can call it time.
I think I can call it a day.
You can call it a day, Darian.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have these other conversations we spoke of another time. I
Yeah.
would really love to get down deep into these kinds of topics.
I mean, well, the podcast is going to be here. I'm going to keep doing it every Friday, no matter what. Well, I'm going to be posting on Friday. Obviously, this is a Monday. So yeah, Ruyang, how you feeling? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Invite us back. I'm
Yeah,
always
yeah.
down to talk
I
about
was
esports.
I was going to say thank you very much for being on here. And again, I think first time multiple people like this. Sorry if it was a little bit rough, but I think we did it. We got it. We talked for an hour, and that's usually my goal. But anything over is great. And yeah, we did it, especially toward the end there. Once we started really getting into the core of esports, now I know what to talk about with you guys. We can just talk about that more later on another podcast. I'm more than happy to delve more into that because we can start. There's plenty to talk about that we didn't cover today. And yeah, thanks very much for being on here, all three of you. I'm glad we could coordinate our schedules. We're in various time zones, and we did it. I'm really proud of us. Really proud of us. You guys should be proud of yourselves,
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Darian. Thank you, Ruyang. You guys have a very great night.
You too.
Thank you.
It was nice seeing you again.
You too, man.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah. All right, I'll talk to you all later.
All right, bye.
Good night.
Bye.
There you have it. You know what? Props to them. They have over the last 3 to 4 years, they have kept Simon Fraser alive against what seems like all odds. It doesn't seem like the school is really on board. It doesn't seem like they're getting with the times. They should, or else they're going to be left in the dust. But right now, we talked about it. It's easy to build. Well, I won't say it's easy to build any esport program. It's not easy to build any of that. There's so many things that go into it that, yeah, obviously I don't know, and I can ponder on, speculate on, but I truly don't know. But I know it's easier than doing something like a football team, even a soccer team, baseball team, basketball team. I know esports has a more like condensed area to use, and like I said, I'm fairly certain it's way easier to get into esports than it is in any other major collegiate athletic competition, athletic sport. And yeah, like I said, bless these three for trying to keep the dream alive, and they're doing it so far. They've especially whenever Jeff was part of the coaching staff way back in the day. Well, I can't say way back in the day. It was just a year ago, or maybe 2 years. I think it was just a year. I think he was still on last year, but yeah, he brought those. He put SFU on the map. You know, obviously him and his team. It wasn't just him. There was a whole staff. There's this team. Obviously, I've talked to 3 members of the staff, but yeah, SFU is on the map, and they need to maintain that. And it sucks that some schools don't really recognize that, and I wish they would. I wish they could, but hopefully we can one day. So that's going to be it for now. Once again, I said once again. I don't think I ever said in the first time, or in the first place, I should say. Either way, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. My name is Joshua Fekes Quest. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Fekes. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. You know, manufacturing the old machine there, keeping it going. I mean, I'm going to keep doing this even if I don't get any subscribers because, I like it. There's no voice there's no area, no voice, no microphone for any of these students, any of the staff. Go on ESPN. You're never going to, I won't say never, but I mean, you don't really see any of these kind of conversations. So that's why I'm doing this. Get a lot of those people that ESPN will ignore, Kotaku will ignore, anyone who does any of the, Riot will ignore for sure. So yeah, doing it for them, doing it for myself. So I'm going to be here no matter what. So anyways, thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time, next Friday, same place, same time. And yeah, have a good weekend. Good night.